Let me navigate back over here. So, the light within, we could say, the light within, inside our minds. Usually in deep meditation you'll see it. Very faintly though, perhaps. Some people are just lucky enough to see it more clearly and don't need to do any of that sort of stuff. Now, whilst playing around with this sort of thing, let's do it. We was talking in a few videos before this one about the pieces of glass that were lined up. And I said I didn't have enough layers of glass to show you. So, alright, we're going to do this one as reality here. I think we should make it a bit longer. Let's just call that one reality. And this is, if you close your eyes, you've got your subconscious mind, although you don't see it, imagination and stuff like that. And then there was a sheet here as well, which is very interesting to me. Almost like a sheet of glass is the only way to really explain it. Now, which way did I do this? This one, this one, this one, followed by this one. Now that's very interesting. Okay, so I'm looking at another piece of paper because I've been drawing this down as to what could possibly be going on, and how I can explain this is in multiple different ways. So I've drawn a few on another piece of paper. Which one could be the easiest way? I think I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to continue with this because I think it... Okay, so we could imagine the star being backlit. Now this is the interesting thing. So it appears like it's backlit and we're seeing it from behind, and that's why it appears so faint. And it almost illuminates your imagination. That's kind of the way I can put it into the simplest terms, that when you image and you see something, this is projecting it onto this glass here. This is with your eyes closed, let's say. So if we just draw your little eyes in there. So we could say you're in imagination. So, and then when you open your eyes, you then begin to see reality, which is quite interesting. And as you're able to see reality and different things like that, this is the inner workings. Now, when I was a lad, when staring off, and you go into that sort of daydream, I was fascinated with the way that reality started dimming out. And your imagination is usually, for people, I think that what happens when they begin to daydream, they see this part here, imagination, but they very rarely see this star, the inner light, which is quite fascinating for me. I think that some people miss it altogether because the imagination tends to distract you from it. And the way that it sort of does for me, well, especially when I was a lad and it was in lesson and whatnot, and the teacher's going on about a whole load of old shite, you would sort of go off into imagination, and the way that reality would become very dim and sort of start waxing and waning, and then doosh, you're in imagination, and then you're dreaming while awake, technically. Now, there's two types of imagination. One is autonomous, zone off and whatever comes in. Perhaps someone is telling you a story or talking about something and you're visioning it. And this is automatic. That means that somebody else is influencing your imagination. And the other is forced. It's what you want to see. It's what you want to visualize, and you can, like puppets in a play. Interesting. That one is very fascinating. And then there's the autonomous version. Now, while paying attention to the way that it would zone in, and then you can zone back into reality again, and then reality becomes bright, but not as bright as the imagination. It's always reality seems more dim, more dingy, more dull, less colourful, but yet the imagination is more colourful and more bright and more alive colour. And I was fascinated with the contrast of the two, the way that it would, and I became quite fascinated with this, that I used to sit there and just be on the border of this, one versus the other, one versus the other. And I guess that was good exercise as a kid, really good exercise, working a muscle or a particular type of awareness, from flipping from one to the other, to the other, to the other. And this is nothing, right? This is, I don't know, I'm going to say that this is sort of stage one, I would guess. Stage two is the burning backlight, the star. Now, it doesn't really technically look like a star, but it does and it doesn't. It's hard to explain that. Vortex, you could say. But anyway, and there's a lot of fiery stuff, which these to me look like smaller atoms dancing around. This is just the way I label that, doesn't mean that it is. These seem like really small atoms, and this one seemed like a heavier atom. And this one it almost seems like a smeary around the outer edges of almost like solar flare activity is the only way I can explain it. And these tinier atoms that are all moving around, is how it seems, were responding to what this one was spitting out. So imagine if you had a load of stars close together in space. One star is going to influence the others, and the others are going to influence the star itself. So which way that works, you be the judge. But I think the bigger one almost seems to be giving out like smoke light that influences these smaller particles around, of varying different colours, by the way. These are all different colours. But this main one is the one that takes the most focus. But when you sort of look beside it, which is where does your awareness go? Now, what is that awareness? That's interesting to me. It's almost alive within itself, like an onion shell. Now, this particular main star, if you focus in on it, you'll see it quite clearly. But more so than this disappears in a way, almost. And this one takes center stage. But it's got a different type of imagination to it, which is interesting. So this morphs into pictures, and it becomes more stronger than this. So I'm going to say imagination number 2. But what's more with that? So you have these layers. You've got reality, then you've got your imagination, and then you've got the star, and you've also got this layer of imagination within this star. It doesn't look like you're looking at it. It looks like you're looking, it's behind you somewhere, and it's cast against something else that is reflecting the light. Now that's what I thought, first thought. But in recent times I've been playing around. Could you believe this? This is a very strange thing. That in reality, now, I don't know, it can take me up to a minute, and it can take me up to 5 minutes. It can take me up to 5 seconds. It all depends. At will, I can begin to put this star here in reality with my eyes open. But it looks 3D. No, it's not 3D. I guess the closest thing that you can imagine this to is a hologram. But now this is where ancients, Egyptians and different things like that, people thought that they were taking a lot of drugs and different things like that, and rah-de-rah-de-rah. I don't think they were. I think that they had this built-in ability to play around with awareness and these different layers, and this comes into reality. So it's really strange. You've got to think of it as an empty room. Take a room that's empty, and when you go into this, it's almost like a trance state, but it's not. I've been working with it to the point where I want to go beyond the trance state. You know, you can turn this off and you can turn it on very easily. But what's more, depending on where I am in the room, this is a fascinating thing. It doesn't appear to get... I think I made a video about this before where I said it was almost like I could go into the vortex. Like, I could... You see, now that's with your eyes closed, deep in meditation and all the rest of it, right? And it was almost like you could move towards it, not physically, but your awareness was moving towards it. Now, that was fascinating for me. And what's more, I could do this with my eyes open, and I didn't need to get into a meditative state, or maybe I am, I don't know, perhaps just in your waking. But if we imagine the room is empty, the violet light can appear in the room. And it's almost like you are moving the screens. This is weird. I get it, it's very strange, but still. This screen appears in with the reality. Rather than going towards it, you can push it out, and then it becomes in reality. Now, I'm playing around with this because I want to know whether it's, we'll think about it as another layer of reality. Think about that. And like I said, there is an imagination with this as well. There's a different level of imagination that isn't quite this. I know it's very confusing, but let me unpack it and we'll get there. So you can see it in reality. It's a violet flame for me, around the outer edges, yellow, green, blue, but mainly predominantly is violet for me. And I can see it in the room. Now what happens is, in reality, what happens is very strange. It's hard to explain it. It seems to be that everything around dims out. The room structure and the walls, you can still see it, but it's almost like they go transparent. Oh yeah, that's the better way to explain it. It's almost like it switches. So some people, I understand, because I've asked people in my life, they say that they see something faint. Yes, that's how reality goes, is faint. And this becomes more predominant, like you're seeing reality. It's freaking weird. It's like, for as long as you will it, it almost switches. That's the thing. It switches from physical reality to quantum reality, and I was playing with it a bit more, and you can balance them both out to seem neither as strong nor as transparent as the other. So you balance reality being the room, and you balance your... It's weird, because it's like rather than you moving yourself, it moves out and becomes a part of the room. And you can turn this on or off, at will. It might take a few seconds, but then it begins to... now, the next bit on this is being able to visualize things. Everyone was talking about visualization in your mind and have a visualization board. That is confusing, but imagine the room being as empty as anything, and you begin to see this star as strong as you've ever seen it, and it's beautiful. And reality is equally as strong as the star. It's balanced. And you're able to then begin to imagine, like I said, it's that secondary imagination, then becomes part of the room. It's interesting. It's very interesting, which allows you to think outside as opposed to internally. It's an outward thinking. Now, can you imagine this ability, right? Now, I can teach other people to do this, but it's going to take a few techniques. You're going to need to learn it took me many years to learn this, actually, just by messing around with stuff and melting an awful lot of fear. This is not the bit I want to talk about. The bit I want to talk about is this piece here. This one. The one that I question mark. Oof, that's... I would love to be able to teach a psychiatrist this, or somebody that works in the mind that usually labels people as crazy, because... Not because it's bad stigma or anything, but... if these individuals learned how to do this, it would no longer be called crazy, and then if everyone was able to learn this, it would then be called normal. Yeah, right, labels are just one thing, but when you begin to teach people of a certain nature, especially this one, and I know I can do it, so I spend most of my life playing around with this stuff. First off, it's fear. It's very fearful as a young lad, and bit by bit, just bit by bit. I think I put some posts on Facebook and different things like that, and I've spoken about this in other videos. I've definitely got them on my devices and on disc. And it's this one. And if you think that the mind is just this much, and then it's getting me questioning reality, how many layers to this reality do we actually have here? And because, the mind is limited. We're limited to what we can see. And for me personally, there is another screen that we can't see. And you could put this in as dark energy and different stuff like that, and atmosphere, and there's another one that we can't see. This one we're tuned to. And another one. No, it's not like multiverse, no, it's more like being limited to what you can see and why you need to see it. Again, it's fascinating, to be honest. Crazy? We're way beyond that. We're beyond it. I think it's reality is the thing that is crazy, not an individual that sees reality in this way. No, when you teach many people it becomes normal. Wow, this is normal. You wouldn't think that a microscope is crazy, but it would be crazy for a scientist to say without the invention of a microscope. I think there are little tiny things eating away that, causing this mold to appear. You would think that the person is crazy, and then they make an instrument. Then it becomes normal. Oh, this is just normal. This is just because we can't. This is why I use the word and think about the word crazy as some. Yeah, until proven. So someone that wants to go and find ghosts or anything else like that, people would label that as crazy. Some do. And then it becomes normal. If they could prove it, it then becomes everyday. It's no longer crazy. It's like, reality then becomes crazy. You've got to label something. But this one here, and I've also found that there is another. I think, let's worry about this one first before we're going off onto this one. This one will give you a whole lot of new science, new information. And the same with reality as well. And then it gets me wondering, how many layers to this are there versus how much limit do we have? Inner ear, inner eye, which reaches to the nose. And I'm just going to mark this one off as we go along because, I'm running out of space on here, to be honest. I've got to put another one in. Each one of these just helps me, to be honest. Know which bits we're going for, and this one would be the one over here. Didn't understand that. I'm starting to now. And so being able to put this out into the room, when you begin to imagine things or build something, you can see it already. And also you can study this a lot more. And like I say, it becomes more stronger as opposed to dingy. And then, like the first set of imagination that you get, when you first go into it, if you pay attention to it, you sort of walk into it and it gets stronger as you go. And it becomes more and more brighter to the point that it takes over reality. But reality, if you pay attention, is getting dimmer. And even with your eyes open, and your imagination is becoming bright. And it exceeds even brighter. And this one dims out. And then for a moment, it swaps back, swapping. And then it's like, where the hell are we really? I mean, whew. So you already noticed that when you go off, and if you pay attention just before you're on the verge of going into imagination, with your eyes open, daydreaming, have a daydream and just pay attention to it. You'll notice that reality starts to dim. It's incredibly beautiful. Try and learn to get on that, to see on the edge. You've got to stay in that mindset though. The next one is the star. If you're able to see the star, wow. Putting this into an empty room, and then it's like an empty room minus the furniture, and then if you then start to visualize furniture, depending on what it is, if you're going to build something, it will appear, and then you can put it wherever you want because you imagine it. Now I wondered if the ancients did this with pyramid building. They saw a pyramid, saw something, some objects. I mean, they were probably influenced by a lot of nature in this. Pine trees, different things, I don't know, who knows. Whatever they had seen, especially in cherry trees, I mean the scarring is very usual, isn't it? On cherry trees, mainly cherry trees, you get the triangle with the eye in the middle. Especially here, it's everywhere. Most of the trees have this, where they've once had a branch, and there's this pattern emerge. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Actually, it's more this way. There you are. Nice bit of Osiris there. And you can study this star a lot more. Well, star, I don't know if that's the right word, it's it seems to be more like a cloud, but then it's not like a cloud. It's like a living light. It's very interesting. It's this back panel here. This is very interesting. Now what you see in that, that's going to make you leave a whole lot of stuff behind and write out a different, and then each book you've got physical reality as science, right? That's everyday interactions, living in the mundane and doing all of that sort of stuff. That's there. And then you've got your scientific version within this atomics, microscope. What about telescope? That's another. But that, again, that's another band entirely, isn't it? Because you're seeing in a larger objects, aren't you? Technically, but they're further away, which appear smaller. And our awareness is so far away from the bacteria we don't see it. I mean, interesting. And then you've got so many different categories for it. So many different levels of understanding. I think it would be better that, you know, each tool enhances your ability to understand. But it's also like this in the mind. And where have we been most of the time? This one, well trained. But it's completely different to this one, which we call the star, right? And you get to see all the dottiness. I like to see all of this light, by the way. I think this is why we're so drawn to Christmas and the flickering of the lights and everything else. Yeah, I think it's because of that. And it's almost like the inner. It's sort of, you're nearly there sort of thing. But being able to bring that out, it's what it looks like. For me personally, it's like Christmas with all the lights and everything else, but one center light with this interaction of other things which look like atoms. This one looks like a big atom that is influencing the smaller atoms. But the way it's almost like you push the glass. It's the only way I can explain it, really, is where you push the layer of glass from here, and it merges with this one here. And for a moment, they align with one another. You get an alignment of two. Reality and this star. And it's... We've been doing this all along with this one here, imagination, which is... it seems to be more stuff like storytelling and daydreaming on the surface level. This is another particular layer of glass, because, you know, I did think at the beginning it was just this one pushing out, but it's not. It's one from further behind, because it cuts through this one and pushes out into this one. It's a very interesting... When you master it and you're able to do it, you'll get exactly what I mean. It's freaking beautiful, but it's also mesmerizing, but it's very... It's like a layer of glass moving that seems to get bigger the more it moves away. So you could say pyramid shape from your awareness point. And if it's been sat here for a while, let's just say for argument's sake, and reality is this bit here, it's like the piece of glass gets just as big. It gets, as it moves up and then comes to combine with reality, it matches it. It matches the contours. Again, I don't know what this would look like in space, because there's more there to do. And then, if you can focus really much, you're trying to get this one, and you've got to stay in that sort of mindset. And when you're in that mindset, and this will begin to dim out, the reality as well begins to dim out, and then you've got, like, it's almost like your imagination, this part here. I'm not sure if it's combining with this, or whether this one is pushing up as well. And then you have three layers that appear. And then this one takes center stage. So as opposed to it being here, it takes center stage. And if you imagine a star being our star, and all of the planets, you get to watch these orbit within reality, within the star, within this mindset, that this one takes most focus. These dims out, and also the star dims out, and this one enhances the strongest. And you begin to see and move things, and this begins to move in orbits, and the moons and the planets, and you get to see this working. It's almost like a hologram. It really is. Oh my word, the mind is such a beautiful tool. Could you imagine if all humans evolved this way? Have this built in, and we've got it built in, but we don't use it. That's the thing. And why it could be so beneficial. you know, I want to play around with this and see if I can, you know, take the Apache helicopter, okay, it's got some pretty decent technology in it, but being able, I imagine, and I'm only imagining this, that you see through like a liquid crystal display through one, and this gives you like a computer that is able to see targets and in a very different way and be able to move the target based on, right, we have this built in, and I'm wondering, with enough mind, that if you can work with this long enough, can you put that into reality using the quantum to merge it with reality and put this in to a point where it can begin to track a certain object, or I'm still playing around with it. It's early days yet. That's the goal anyway. That's a little goal that I have. I want to see whether I can, one, stay in that frequency of merging both of them together. Again, it could be really crazy, but whatever. If it serves a purpose, and rather than it being stars, it being I don't know yet. You see, this is the next bit. What can I do with that? What can I wrap up in someone? Can I give someone a certain color? This is why I would like to try, and then give somebody else a certain color. And if they walk out of my peripheral and they walk back in again, will they hold that color? This is the next bit. This is the bit I got to ask myself, really. But I would have to do a blinded experiment in order to understand that. It would have to be, somebody else would have to be watching out of my peripheral, and they walk out and have memorized the person. And if they walk back in, does that shade? If I then say I've labelled that person with purple, this one with blue, this one with green, this one with, I don't know, yellow, and they walk out, go somewhere else, and then one of these individuals comes back in, and then I say green. And then the other person who's writing this down will go, correct. Yes, it is. And then is this going to recognize something? I mean, what is the purpose of having this gift? Now, honestly, I thought that it was from prehistoric times that we had this gift when we didn't have eyes. And we mapped things in a different way. And the inner ear being vibration. We could feel, sense, auras. And what purpose does this have now? Well, I think it gets you to write beautiful hieroglyphs, especially when you remember. And what's really weird with this, when anytime you remember, when anytime you create something in this, it archives and you remember it. But it's associated with I don't know, it's hard to explain that. You get into gear. It's almost like this goes into gears. And when you're thinking in this way, planets, you get back into that gear and you pick up where you left off. Oh, it's quite advanced, and you know, well, I've only got to experiment with this, and you know, have a good go with it. But it's this panel here. This one is interesting. I don't know how much I want to reveal. If this ain't crazy enough, this one will blow your frickin' mind. But I think I want somebody else to learn this with me, and we would have to divide after you've learnt this, and then we should talk about what we see here separately away from one another, where we can't communicate with each other, and I want to know whether we're seeing the same thing. That's the next bit, because then if two people are saying it, because they've been taught this and they understand this, or if someone else can do this, it's this one. It is this one. And then if I point you in the right direction of to whereabouts it is and what to look out for, you tell me what you see. And I can then put it into a video, and you can put it into a video, and then we can swap videos and compare notes a little bit. And then that would be bizarre, wouldn't it? What if we see the same thing? Next layer of bag of questions, please, you know, because this doesn't make much sense to me. It does, but I am not right now in a position where I'm going to say what I see in this. And if you think that is something, there is another. You see, once you learn what to look for, it's so transparent. This is the thing, right? It's like it's almost you're not aware of it because of how it's there, but it's like it's bleached out in this overall light, and then reality is like taking up bright stage, right? And you would think that you wouldn't be able to see imagination in that, but you are. think about it the same way, this then pushes out into that. And the more you do so, this starts to dim down all of this. And something else is fainter in... It's weird, man. There's something else more faintly there, and it's like, whew, am I really seeing that? We need to compare some notes with someone, because I've never heard anyone talk about that before. And then, if it is, and we're seeing the same thing, then there's definitely something here, because then we're connected to something. I guess that would be the next thing, and then this one is, you know, why don't somebody else have a go at doing the crazy? I mean, that's the, oh my days, it is, blow your mind, it will blow your mind. I guess that's what they mean by go within. But how far do you want to go within? I mean, and then how much more is there? And then once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the thing. That's what it's like. It's almost like a picture within a picture within a picture, but different intensities. And the mind seems to be focused in on these ones. For me, mainly these ones. But these ones here are starting to become more apparent based on the more that this begins to... It's almost like an awareness and an inner awareness. And it feels deep. That's the thing. But yeah, and then it gets me questioning reality as well. And then again, what is seen, the brain is limited, reality is limited, your eyes are limited. But what is this limited? And then we can unlimit it. And then that helps you reach to a level of knowing. It gets you towards knowing. Whew. Wow. Wow. And then there's more unlocked. Very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to leave this one here because I think I did an okay job at explaining that. But, you know, sort of. I'm going to dive into it again later, but this is just where I wanted to touch upon just this for now. There you are.